right. Welcome, everyone, once again to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 162 here. Altai, joined this week by one, the only.
Omer.
Indeed.
No, I still feel weird saying Omer because I'm Remo. Right? I go by Remo. A lot of my friends call me Remo. But on this podcast, I'm always Omer.
Well, you know what's funny? You're actually not Omer because right to the left of your name in the little circle bubble,
It does say Remote.
it
Maybe
says Remote.
I should just start saying Remo or Remote because it's weird because I know a lot of my friends' names online, right? My internet friends' names. But I know all their real life names, but I call them all by their internet names. It would just be weird to call like my buddy Canaris by his real name. You know, I go, he's Canaris in my eyes, you know? I'm Remo. But anyway, we have a spicy weekly raid this week, fueled by a bit related to, I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about, sexism and whatnot. And we have another good story to cover this week. And it's by the one, the only Kotaku. I think they're usually on the ball with their hit pieces on gaming, you know? Let's hear it, Altai. Take it away.
I'll take it away. So first, I decided to combine a couple different assaults coming Riot's way this week into this lovely title, Riotous Week. Riotous Week.
Altai, are you proud of that one?
I'm very proud of this.
The Riotous doesn't really, I mean, it just sounds really weird. Riotous
It's
week.
been a riot of a week over there at Riot
Riot's
Games.
rambunctious Riotous week. Put more R's in there, all right?
Enough R's.
Enough R's. All right,
So
go.
basically, you know what? As you guys all know, Riot has been at the top of the pyramid for many years now, right? And it's not easy being king. It's not easy being the alpha. Because the second you show a little weakness, okay, and the little chinks in your armor, they pounce, you know? The other competing...
We don't say chink anymore. That's not very politically correct these days, all right?
Don't worry
But
about
continue.
it. So this week, Riot got hit by two salvos. The first and more interesting is this whole sexism shit that Kotaku hit them with. So I'll bring that up first. It's a pretty long investigative piece. I got it, whether you agree or not with it, or if it's inflated or not, which, you know, we could talk about.
Spoilers, it is.
Yes, but you know what's funny? At least they did some. They actually went out there and interviewed some employees and stuff. And it's a pretty long piece. It's interesting. I don't think it proves sexism, though it does prove that the work environment at Riot is very juvenile. I think we can agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
again, the work environment is many different environments, and there's many different people. All right, it's not
Right.
You can't label the entire environment as juvenile. All right, you can label people there juvenile.
Oh, I can. I just did. But
Oh, you just did. All right, go ahead. Yeah.
So let's run down a few of the arguments. So they interviewed several dozen former and current female employees at Riot, which, by the way, employs over 2,500 people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find 20 to 40 people to interview over a couple of years, you're gonna find everything you want. Right. Some people are mad about being fired. People who didn't fit in. Right. So 2,500 people. 40 over a couple of years. It's not a huge sample size, but some interesting stories to go. Did you have a favorite story, or should I just pick one?
I have quite a few. I mean, the whole premise of the article, before you get into it, is essentially that Riot Games is the culture at Riot Games and the environment at Riot Games is toxic for female workers, and it's basically, if you're a girl, if you're a woman at Riot Games, you really can't advance because everyone is sexist and your manager's sexist, and they're going to promote men over females, and that they're all about hiring real gamers, and the ideal image of a true Rioter is a hardcore gamer, and girls can't be hardcore gamers. And because of that, like, all these girls are discriminated against. And that's the essential crux of the entire piece. And it goes into lots of different stories about how, about examples of this happening throughout the years. So there are a lot of stories. I do want to say at the beginning, the first story at the top, literally at the top of the article, just really caught me by surprise. I read the entire piece, and I recommend anyone interested in this stuff do read the entire piece. But no, I didn't question the authenticity of anything in this article except this one start at the beginning. Because literally this woman, Lacey, apparently brings up an idea at a meeting, and everyone just, haha, that's a horrible idea, right? And the next day she decides to ask one of her male coworkers to bring up the exact same idea at the next meeting. And then when the male coworker does that, everyone says, oh my God, that was an amazing idea. Cheers, applause all around. And then Lacey concludes that, this is a hostile work environment for me, and that Riot just hates women. That seems like such a meme that they would use that example. Like, it could have happened, but that's like such a meme that they present the exact same idea the next day and everyone approves of it. But the first time they all hated it. So I don't know.
First of all, it was days later, not one day.
Okay.
And two, I can see this being a real story, but I just don't think it's sexist. Okay, imagine you hear something, right? You'll think it's a stupid idea to you, right? But if a couple of days later you hear from someone else who you also respect, like let's say every employee in this meeting was equal level, okay?
Okay.
So Omar brings up an idea. Whoa, what if you have an app for like trading sodas? And I'm like, that's stupid. Shut up. And then a week later, someone else I respect, like say Gumball, comes to me. Hey, I have this really interesting idea. How about an app that shares soda? It's really growing. Like, this idea. I'm like, wait, I heard that before. Now he's talking about it. Now he's talking about it. Maybe there's something to this, So I think hearing it twice at different meetings by different people, I think just it's kind of like it brought that idea up, just hearing it multiple times.
Yes, but I just hate the fact that was the start of the article, because that seems like the most like cliched sexual harassment training example, like how it was such a textbook example. Then I don't know, but that's the only piece in this entire story I question the authenticity of. Everything else just seems like yes, all of this stuff is viable and this stuff could happen. But there's reasons why it happens, I think.
Well, I think my anti-feminism meter is higher than yours, because I lost it at literally the first sentence of this article.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to read the first sentence to you guys, okay? Throughout her 3 years at Riot Games, the company behind League of Legends, Lacey made it her mission to hire a woman into a leadership role. Okay, so this article is about sexism at Riot, right? The only one sexist at Riot is Lacey. She actually said, she's admitting that my only goal is to hire a woman to leadership. It's not to hire the best candidate that comes forward, black, white, male, female, somewhere in between. She said, I'm just trying to hire a woman to leadership. Damn all the other qualified candidates. So who's the sexist now? Does this lady or like Riot?
It seems like that's kind of sketch, yeah.
Literally the first sentence says, I'm just looking to hire a woman. Don't care about anything else. Are they good? Are they good programmers, good leaders, managers? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's pretty messed up. Again, it's literally she's there to hire not the most qualified candidate to find a woman for that job. But throughout this piece, there are a lot of interesting anecdotes and stories about what's going on at Riot Games. And actually, what I do like is what's interesting is that Riot Games' motto for their hiring is that loving what you do is mandatory, and you won't fully appreciate a gamer's perspective unless you are the one. Unless you are one. We're not looking for feedback averse. You need conviction, passion, and horsepower to excel at Riot. Those lines, they got removed. They removed those from their hiring page, and now it says, whatever you play, if you make time to play, you're a gamer. So they went from basically saying we want hardcore gamers to, you know what, if you go play any game, we like you. You're a gamer. I think that's changing, I guess, their culture a bit to be a little more lax and hire whoever.
Well, they were changing it because they had some really funny examples come out, and I thought this one was really funny. So
let's hear it.
If you guys played, let me see if I can spell this right. Let's see. All right, so during an interview, right, this woman is being interviewed, and then she has to prove that she's a gamer, right? Mm-hmm. So the guy interviewing her asks her, like, what games do you play? Like, World of Warcraft. Okay, like, what do you do in the game? And then he asks her, well, what's your favorite trinket? And then she, after like an hour of this, it's an hour-long interview, she's being fact-checked on her gaming story. And then she gets the impression that they're trying to check if she's a real gamer or not. And she's saying none of the men who said, they play WoW, were asked what their favorite trinket was, or like they're being. It's so funny. Imagine being quizzed on whether you play a game or not.
Your gamer credentials, I think it matters. I think that's not at all unreasonable, especially when they're the Riot's culture, and has been said countless times by Mark Merrill, as well as their own hiring practices, that they're looking for hardcore gamers. And when you're looking for hardcore gamers, the reality is there aren't many women that qualify as a hardcore gamer. So if somebody says, if a woman says that like she can bench like 300 pounds or something, right? I don't know, like women are just biologically weaker than men, okay? And they can't bench press as much weights. So if a woman says she can bench like 300 pounds, that's not necessarily impossible or extremely difficult for a guy. Like 250 pounds, maybe 200, whatever. I mean,
I bench 300, no problem. I'm a guy.
Let's say
you cannot bench. You cannot bench 250.
If a guy says they can bench 200, okay, let's bring the number down to a more reasonable number. That is pretty reasonable, right?
No.
Maybe it's not reasonable.
I don't think the average guy can bench 200.
I'd say average. Fine. Let's say 150. Okay, let's say the average guy can bench 150 pounds. All right. I don't do weightlifting, so my numbers are definitely skewed over there. So let's say the average person can bench 150 pounds.
We're going to a gym after this somewhere, by the way.
We're going to a gym after this podcast. Okay. And I think most people, when they hear, I can bench 150, right? If a guy says it, they're going to say, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. Assuming they're not like 4 feet tall and 100 pounds. That's not unreasonable. If a woman that's of normal build says they can bench 150, that raises a couple eyebrows. You might want to fact check that. And the reality is,
whoa. I don't buy that. First of all, she's not saying she's like a top tier raider in WoW. She's just saying I play World of Warcraft.
No, she didn't say she played World of Warcraft. She says you're rated.
Okay, but not
Okay.
a top tier. Anyone can raid in
matter.
WoW. You just go LFG raid. That's it.
Okay, from 2004. If you're rating in 2004 World of Warcraft,
2015. 2015.
Okay, no, that was when the interview was, right?
Yeah.
She asked for a favorite trinket from. It doesn't matter. We don't know when the rating took place. Anyway, the point is, they want to hire the highest echelon of players, right? And the reality is, a game like World of Warcraft has like 20% or less female players, if I remember correctly, from the Quantic Foundry article we discussed last week, right? And of the top tier players in those games, what percent do you think are women? In fact, we know for a fact that over 90% of players at League of Legends are men. That was released by Riot Games themselves. They said over 90% of our players are men. And of the hardcore players in the top, it should be like 2% women or less. So the reality is you do have to fact check sometimes. You do have to, when a woman says something in this area, it requires, because the reality is they want to create a culture on, gamers, right? Yeah. So if you want to make sure the people you hire fit into that culture. And if she fits into that culture and she's legit, let her in, But if she's viewed by her peers as like a fake or an e-girl or a fake gamer, the reality is that does create culture clashes. And if they want to hire, you can argue reasonably that they're actually wasting their time by hiring hardcore gamers. You can say they're flawed, right? You can say that metric is flawed, but that was their metric that they're going by, and they're sticking by it throughout this hiring process, which I don't think is unreasonable.
I think whether that's their culture and whatever, it's kind of cringy. It's kind of cringy that they're like, I remember she's not saying she had a problem with them asking her her trinkets or whatever. The tone of it was so different than a man, and you're saying it's because less women play WoW and therefore she could be, but like I guess they thought she was just lying about playing WoW, but that's a weird interview, I think. Well, no, that's a weird interview. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Yes, it's weird, but the reality is that there are repercussions to hiring that woman, right? And you have to make sure that she's legit. If she's legit, there's no problem, right? And all the weirdness should be getting out of the way at the hiring process. Get that out of the way, and then once she's hired, it should ideally be okay.
All right, here's another. Oh, we got some biddies by Joshies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joshies.
All right, I had another interesting part. Okay, so this is more about the bro culture at Riot, not so much the sexism. Here's the quote. One former male employee said that Riot's bro culture is more pronounced behind closed doors and hurts men too. One of Riot's senior leaders, at Riot, regularly grabbed his genitals, the source said, adding, if he walked into a meeting with no woman, he'd just fart on someone's face. Imagine your senior leader in a meeting. Hey guys, what's up? Just fart in your face.
Okay, that one's pretty ridiculous. I can imagine
they're Canadians from South Park. Terrence and Phillip.
Okay, that one's just weird. Okay, and the beauty of this one is that look, the guy would just literally fart on people's faces and grab genitals. Okay, and for both men and women. So arguably, this guy is not being sexist. Okay, he's grabbing genitals equally. All right, so he's an equal opportunity weirdo.
He's definitely it's definitely juvenile. Like I said, it's not sexist per se. It's just juvenile, and in as much that juvenile and sexism line up, it's sexist. But that's not not the thrust.
The point of the article, though, was again throughout anecdote after anecdote, they try to explain that it's very obviously a bro culture that's anti-woman, right? That's the thesis of the article, right? And before I want to debunk the thesis for a second, but before you get to that, there's another interview question which I thought was pretty bizarre, right? So one evidence that it was very anti-female is that a former female employee told Kotaku that she was asked, quote, how big is your e-peen? By an interviewer who was questioning her over her gaming habits. Now, there's nothing sexist about that question. It's very clear if you've played video games for any amount of time, e-peen literally just means your rank, your capability, your accomplishments. That's what e-peen means. So if you don't know what e-peen is and you're just assuming it's like some sexist term, it just feels like you're not going to belong at Riot Games. I mean, if they're trying to hire people that are, hardcore gamers, you should know what these terms mean. I don't think it's sexist at all to ask someone, yeah, so how big is your EP? They're asking you basically, come brag to me about your accomplishments in gaming. And I don't see how that's a problem whether they're asking that question to a guy or a girl.
Again, I think if someone asks me my EP, right, in an office setting, I think it's juvenile. It's not sexist. Juvenile. It's definitely juvenile.
No, the company very clearly wants to hire hardcore gamers, and you have, if you've been playing games, you know what they mean. They want you to brag.
You
Tell
can
us
be
some
a
of your
hardcore
accomplishments.
gamer and also not be 12. Like these aren't like mutually exclusive.
I don't know. I think that's fine. Anyway, I do want to debunk a bit of the thesis because the problem is, as you said before, this entire hit piece basically encompasses Riot has over 2,500 current employees, and over the years they probably had many more total employees that have ever worked for them.
Yes.
They've only ever found like a couple dozen people that would speak to them off the record or on the record combined, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is
the number is 28. So they've only
28
spoken
people.
to 28 current and former Riot employees. Now remember, 2,500 currently with 28. They talked to over the course of years. That's less than what 1%.
1% or so. 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
And obviously over years they probably I think average employee trend at companies a few years or something too. So like they probably went through like 5,000 employees at Riot since their founding, if not more than that, right? Because people come and go all the time. So I think what happened was I think Kotaku from the get-go, they wanted to write a hit piece on sexism, right? That was their goal. Okay. And what they did was they reached out to everyone they could find at Riot, and they had a story in mind, and they wanted to write that story, and they just found people to fill in the holes. Now, this happens a lot on every side of any issue, I think. Very often, a reporter just wants to write something very specific and just finds evidence to fill in the holes. Like the narrative is already in their mind, and they just find people to plug in those holes to create it. I mean, on the positive side, they did have a few instances where they interviewed female employees, current employees at Riot, which pretty much denied all this stuff, basically saying that like, I can't speak for what I didn't see, but none of this happened with any of my coworkers or with anything I've ever done at the company. So people that work at Riot, women that work at Riot, deny basically any of this shit basically happening under their watch, but they can only speak for what they've seen. And they gave two examples. There's a PhD responsible for like hiring people at Riot, and she talks about how like none of this ever happened and when she was hiring people or any of her coworkers, and that things are running fine. And there was another example of another woman too, just being very happy in their position there. So they did cite a few counterexamples to all their other anecdotes. So at least it was a bit more balanced in that regard.
And again, I just want to emphasize that I think they actually have a legit point with this, but not the sexism angle, just the cringy frat bro angle. It's kind of annoying for men and women. There's one story in here I read. It links to another woman's story. She basically says outside the manager's office, there's like computers, people working, right? And they were playing around a league like during the day because I guess if you work at league, you can play league. And they were yelling at each other like F word, N word, G word. They just, while they were playing. And this woman is sitting there like in an office setting, doing some whatever work. And she's hearing these two guys playing and just yelling obscenity at each other. Again, it's not sexism per se. It's just this. It's just really juvenile. And I would oppose it. And, if I worked there, I would want some kind of reform based on that, not the sexism angle.
Okay, there's one sentence which kind of triggered me, if I want to use that word. If you search "a label does not excuse people," you'll find what I'm talking about. I'll tell you, and you can highlight it there. So basically, Mark Merrill, co-founder, basically said to an email chain that a label does not excuse people to behave in an ineffective manner. All people need to be aware of their own strengths and weaknesses and learn to overcome the latter. While managers should help everyone participate in meetings, individuals who struggle to fit into Riot's meeting culture shouldn't be surprised if managers and teams don't want to work with them, he said. He continued to say that many introverts at Riot have overcome the tendency to climb up in meetings and to provide feedback. And the thing to guard against is when someone has an expectation that the world will bend to accommodate their unique situation to an unreasonable degree.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, first of all, it's good to know what this is referring to. There was one exceptionally stupid woman in this article who complained that at meetings, the other people in the meeting, the other guys, were cutting her off. Okay. By the way, men do that to each other too. If you can't, Omar, let me finish. I'm cutting you off. So if you can't get your message across, right, in a meeting with other like tough guys trying to rise in the company, you don't deserve to be a manager. You don't deserve leadership. If you can't cut people off or turn them away or browbeat them or make them submit to you, that's what being a manager is. The top manager is the alpha. He's got to be able to cut you off. He's got to be able to yell at you. And if you cower, that means you're not the manager. That's it.
Yeah. And have you never been in a conversation or an argument with other people? You cut each other off all the time. Okay, not necessarily out of malice, but you get into you get passionate, right? And it's really bizarre that a woman saying that I was cut off a lot is like an evidence of sexism. That has no place in this article. If you want to, they're trying to paint this very hostile work environment for women. But anyone that reads this article will very clearly see that getting cut off in a meeting or conversation is not sexist. That happens to men all the time. In fact, it probably happens to less to women because you feel kind of bad about cutting off a woman. So you usually let them speak. But if you're a guy, I guarantee you get cut off way more often. In any heated discussion, you're on top of each other. So it's really bizarre that they use this.
And the context is not like the low-level grunt. It's like don't yell at your secretary or like annoy her, right? But if you're in a meeting of other mid-level people, and then you have to impress your boss to see who gets the raise to vice president, you better believe you're going to be cutting each other off, stepping on each other's toes, making each other look bad, or inflating yourself. That's just part of the the tussle. So that makes no sense. And then he's saying, oh, there's some people who are saying it's bad for an introvert. It's a bad environment for an introvert. If you're an introvert, you probably shouldn't be a high-level manager. I'm sorry to break it to you. I would not be a good manager for that reason. But I don't blame sexism or anything for it.
So in the next paragraph, it goes, an ineffective manner is such a loaded term, said Fuller, pushing back on the phrase Merrill used. What does that mean? Someone who's an extrovert at Riot may think shit is just fine, but an introvert may not be able to push back on that. He's basically pushing Riot's extreme ideas of culture fit on everyone, saying people cannot conform to that. They don't belong there.
Yeah, they don't. If
they don't belong there.
Yeah, if you can't stomach it, get out of the office. What do you want?
Because again, Mark is coming from a place of extreme privilege. Yes, being able to communicate your ideas at a workplace and be an effective employee is privilege, apparently. And what if you can't be productive in meetings and communicate your ideas? If you can't overcome your introvertedness or your weirdness or your ability to communicate, you don't belong there. This is not a controversial statement. This is a reality. He basically, Riot wants to be an inclusive place, but they're not going to bend over backwards to make sure, to your whim, to accommodate every request by a person. It's not discriminatory at all.
That part isn't. I do, but I still think the whole farting in people's faces, swearing in the office while playing League.
I can get behind swearing in the office. Okay,
no,
it shows you're passionate.
No, I'm all for. By the way, I'm the most toxic. I defend toxicity at home. When you're playing online all the time. But there's a difference between sitting in your bedroom and calling people the N word, F word, G word, whatever, and being in the office and doing it.
Can't say gay. I feel like you can say gay.
Oh, okay, whatever. The other word for gay that you can't say.
The hard F word. There you go. Yeah, that's the one.
But anyway, so I don't think it belongs in an office because there is a difference in power dynamics. Like if the secretary says it, maybe she'll get in trouble. But this guy can say it, who knows? So I control for that.
If anything, I would actually say that Riot Games is unusually inclusive, right? They have less than 10% of their player base is women, right? And they have 20% of the Riot Games employees are female. If anything, they're exceptionally inclusive, like twice the amount of inclusivity that they're overrepresented in inclusivity, right? And despite being overrepresented in inclusivity, they still get this hit piece on them on how they're a toxic environment. And again, this is not there's been no evidence in this article that it's a culture of anti-woman, a culture of sexism and misogyny. This is literally just a bunch of really weirdly interconnected anecdotes about how some ex-employees at Riot Games felt that they were discriminated against. When the reality is, if you have ex-employees, typically they're disgruntled employees that are pissed off at their worker at their previous place of employment, and they can anonymously throw some shit at somebody. Of course, they're going to do it. If you got fired for any reason, if you had an opportunity to throw some shit at your previous workplace under an anonymity, of course you're going to do it. So I don't know. I think they could have they should have made a stronger case, or not at all, because I think it's a very dishonest piece. I mean, again, they just wanted to write a hit piece, and I think they did it. But
I think they succeeded. So far, Riot has only put out a small statement, basically saying we're reviewing, we're listening, and then we're gonna release a wider statement later. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what do you think they're gonna say? I think they're gonna fold. They're gonna get cucked. They're gonna say, "Oh, we want to create a harmonious workplace. We're gonna stop all this stuff. We're gonna hire more women. We're gonna listen. We're gonna hire some feminist person to in our initiation of our female cohesiveness branch or whatever."
I'm gonna have to cut you off there. Tony Grimm 91 says Riot is gonna reply by farting in their faces.
That would be great.
That'd be a great response. No, but there was a few other examples. I think they cited 2 or 3 examples of basically what happened. Another example of how women are mistreated there was basically some women felt that they once their manager, I think one manager was underperforming, and this woman stepped up to the plate and took over his responsibilities and did all this extra work. At the end of the day, somebody else got the job for the manager, right? And I feel like that happens all the time where, there are many people running for a promotion and only one person gets it. And I feel you can easily feel like you deserved it more. But the reality could be that maybe the other guys deserved it more. Obviously you will always bias yourself. So I don't know. It just feels really bizarre to cite some anecdotal evidences of ex-employees feeling that they deserve the promotion more than somebody else. I
will say, from my very brief encounters with men and women in the real world, I think women, especially in the workplace, have a higher chance to have a tendency to default towards thinking the workplace is all merit and it's fair, right? Where the guys know it's just hustling and like just taking what you can. Like women don't ask for raises as often as men do. The man is more likely to like get the woman to do the job for him, right?
Yeah.
A man. It's often for a man asks, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And the woman helps him, and then obviously at the end he just says, "I did this," because there's an informal agreement maybe, but the guy doesn't care. Why would he like give credit to the woman who helped for no reason if it doesn't help him? So men
are more willing to do, I guess, maybe some shady things, or
not even shady,
extremes.
Just extremes. Like so that's one issue. But there is a broader financial problems at Riot. You want to get into that?
No, before there's actually one more thing I want to talk about, which is actually pretty hilarious. So apparently, at like a senior meeting of diversity at a town hall meeting, right? They had a senior meeting where they talk about diversity, right? And immediately afterwards, after that meeting, they decided to bring in some sexy cosplay girls into the office. Show that video if you haven't seen it yet.
I've seen this. It's funny.
This is actually hilarious. Right after they talk about like how women are mistreated at Riot, or as a misogynistic culture potentially, they decided to diffuse the situation with some sexy cosplay girls. The spiral cat. So if you skip like 40 seconds, you'll see like a minute or so. You just skip around the video until you find
some titties.
You can see some good old titties.
Skip around until I find some titties. All right.
Skip around until you find those beautiful titties. What a great time to, right after you talk about how to treat women and more diversity at your office, bring in the sexy cosplay girls. I love it.
What I love too. Let me see if they mentioned this article. So they had in California where they're based, they have a mandatory like some kind of sexual harassment seminar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they titled their project like "Totally Not Mandatory Sexual Seminar." Like,
yeah, I love it.
They just took it as a joke.
I like it. I can respect that. They actually have they go with that meme in their game too, because they have skins for characters. There's a Blitzcrank skin called Totally Not Blitzcrank, right? It's Blitzcrank wearing like a comical like mustache and glasses, right? And obviously it is him, right? So they kind of carry that meme into their sexual harassment training.
Nice.
I like it.
Here's what it's called. So their seminar for required hires is definitely not sexual harassment training. That's what their sexual harassment training is called.
I like it.
Yeah.
I respect it. But ultimately, I mean, it really just comes down to they want to hire hardcore gamers. You may disagree with that part, but the reality is like 98% of hardcore gamers are dudes. Okay, so the ideal image or a writer is a dude. And I think a lot of people have a problem with that, right? Because they're saying that women should be more inclusive there too. But again, if their goal is to hire hardcore gamers, it makes sense that the ideal candidate for this job at Riot is going to be a guy. It's just the way it is, less than 10% of female players.
You could say that for like people involved in the design, right, of the game. Sure, if the player base is 90% male, presumably the designer should be male to match their needs, right? But if you're just a woman who's answering
programmers too, that's important too.
Well, but what about the guys answering like tickets, like support tickets? Why if a woman is 10% faster than a guy answering support tickets, why shouldn't she get the job? Even let's say she plays no games, she has no idea what League of Legends is. She doesn't care either.
The reality is the support worker who plays games is more in touch with the needs of the player and where their frustration is coming from.
They tested it. They've both been there for 2 years. They're gonna upgrade one to senior email answerer. Okay. As a woman who's got 10% faster ticket rate, more completions, more positive outcomes than the man. Which one should be up? Which one should be promoted to senior email answerer?
What? How is this real? The company culture is important too, right? When you have people that don't mesh in there, right?
No, I don't think so. Games. I want to go to work, put on my headphones, answer my tickets for 8 hours, and go home. I don't want to talk to anyone there.
But you're ignoring the fact that there are other people there, and you do interact them, whether the break room or whatnot. And generally, if you want to make everyone a hardcore gamer, you'll mesh with each other better. I think it's the same reason why why there will never be women and men esports teams that work together. It can never happen, because even if you find qualified women, which is going to be very difficult, because the pool of players, not that women can't do very well on the high end of gaming, they can. But the problem is there just aren't that many women playing in the highest tier of gaming, because look, again, 10% of players in League of Legends are girls.
You're not addressing what I was saying. Okay, I agree with you. Okay, in upper management, in development, in programming, right? If there's if there's more men than women, that makes sense, right? Because, like you said, the audience is men try hard, whatever, or try harding, or pro gamers or whatever. But there are a million tasks in a corporate office, right? Secretary.
Where do you think? Why do you think Riot is 20% women? They're all working differently,
sure.
probably.
But so here's what I'm saying: if those people don't get promoted relative to their male peers, then you have sexism. Because
yes, but I don't. Nothing in this article promoted that or even mentioned that.
I agree.
They talked about more senior positions.
They were looking at senior positions, and that's why I think the article was flawed.
Yeah, sure, that's fair. But the reason you will never have a pro esports team with one girl on it, because the reality is the culture matters. Like you could say she could just be in her room with her headphones on all day, but if you're in a gamer house with like 4 like young men that are horny as fuck, it does. You could never work together efficiently. It can never happen, and it has nothing to do with sexism. It's just not going to work.
You know, the IDF, or the Israeli Defense Force, has
they're very progressive over there.
They have a draft conscription for everyone, including men and women, and they're one of the most powerful fighting forces in the world. So I would have to disagree with you that men and women can work together. We
have the Zhao Lin brings up the Shanghai Dragons, a professional Overwatch team, and literally I think the only biological girl. We've had many trans women actually in very high tiers of gaming.
Biological is that the official term? Biological girl?
I don't know what the official term is, but it is a point of differentiation because we have had many trans women do very well in gaming, including Scarlett, who did StarCraft 2. There was one LCS player, I believe, that was also a trans woman. But I think there's only been one biological woman. Again, I hate using that term; it just sounds so silly. She played for Shanghai Dragons, and they literally never won a game. Right? They were like 0-40. So I'm not saying it's because of that, but I am saying it does make it very difficult to practice as a team and live under one roof without creating unnecessary drama. It does create drama, and it does change the camaraderie. It does change how people interact with each other, and for that, and that's a very similar reason. I think, you do end up getting bro culture, right, and juvenile bro culture because it's not about excluding women. It's about maximizing efficiency. Okay,
hold up. Bro culture is not efficient, by the way, and that's why we need to get to the second part of this article because so far we're just talking about wishy-washy bullshit, the sexism stuff. But guess what? Riot Games is not efficient. It's a crap heap. They have one money printing machine, right?
Yeah, League of Legends.
Maybe years ago, and they've bloated the crap out of this company so much. They have 2,500 employees. To put that in perspective, all of Valve, right, which runs Steam, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, all this other stuff, right? They have
an entire platform, yeah.
Yeah, they have less than 400. Okay, and you might think, well, what the heck are 2,500 people doing? Well, it's a good question because we don't know. What we do know is Tencent, which owns Riot, is starting to get fed up with the company. Their little spat started when Tencent asked Riot to make a mobile version of League. League said, no, we're not doing it. We're a PC game. Tencent was the boss, and they got pissed off. So it's fine, we'll do it ourselves. They made Arena of Valor, which, as you guys know, is very similar in graphics to League. And the Rioters got really mad, but there's nothing they could do because Tencent owns them. And then they apparently over the years, Riot Games has been trying to make multiple games, but none of them actually are any good. So they have multiple full-sized development teams working. And then
none of them released. None of them were never good, and they never actually even bothered to release because they were that bad. And they've actually bought numerous game studios as well.
Yes.
And they never did anything with them. We were supposed to have an announcement. They bought the guys that made that fighting game. Do you remember Rolling Thunder or something?
Yeah, Rolling. Yeah.
And then they were going to release like some kind of game with that, but then the announcement never came because there was nothing to announce because I guess they must have closed that project. And I'm sure over the years they've closed other projects too. They've burned through a lot of money.
Yeah, and there's an article by The Information. I have a link in the weekly read. You guys can read it. Basically, this March they held a meeting at Riot, all hands meeting, company-wide meeting, and they told everyone basically if we continue our current path, we're going to hit a deficit. We're going to lose money. Riot Games, okay, and remember March was a couple months ago, right?
Yeah.
They could be losing money, right? League of Legends.
If things go as is, they could be losing money.
Yeah, well, that was a few months ago. So presumably, if things haven't improved since then, they're losing money or on the path to losing money. It's crazy. I mean, people think that League is this top tier. It's on the top of the mountain, but it can't support 2,500 people just pissing away money and farting in each other's faces all day instead of getting work done. But maybe the reason they can't get a game out. Or they can't do it. It took them 20 years to make a replay system. It's because they're too busy farting in each other's faces, having a bro culture, and drinking, Monster or something, and swearing at each other instead of actually getting work done.
Well, yes, but again, I don't think it's a sexism issue. I think Riot Games has always been very bloated. Okay, they've always taken forever to get things done. So there is something fundamentally wrong with the leadership over there. I think because there's been no excuse on why you can't have a replay system in your game when literally Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 1 had it like 20 years ago, right? And they kept teasing they were going to add it, and it took them God knows how many years to finally add one. And they're so slow to get things done. So there's definitely something dysfunctional at Riot Games, right? Because it seems pretty ridiculous that a game that makes nearly $2 billion a year in revenue, can't gush out money. And it's insane. 2,500 employees versus Valve's below 400. And Valve probably makes more money. Valve's probably a bigger company overall because they have multiple games and they print money with Steam. So it's probably a bigger studio, and they're doing more with less. This is definitely something wrong with Riot Games. I don't think it has anything to do with necessarily the bro culture or
It's cringy.
It's cringy, but I think
I
don't think.
Hold on. Imagine you're in a meeting. Okay. Your boss comes up in the meeting. Hey guys, what's up? Who's got some ideas? And you're like, oh well, I think we should add this. You just fart in your face. Come on, what do you do?
Everybody laughs. Morale improves. We all have a good time.
Okay, everyone laughs. You shelve your idea and you say, oh, this is a bullshit place. So I'm gonna work here for a couple of years, get some money, and just whack off at work, play games, and then I'm gonna move on with my career.
Okay.
That's a setting you set. But if you fart in someone's face, come on.
Okay, that part is juvenile and stupid. Okay, but I think more actually. Look, just so I don't appear incredibly one sided in this issue to this. The one part about this entire Kotaku article, which I thought was like evidence of literal unacceptable behavior, was that email chain about the woman. Basically, there was an email chain going on which girl at the office do you want to bang the most, right? And I think some of the senior and one of the senior people walked up to this girl and said, you should be happy. You're like, all the executives want to bang you, which is kind of weird. I get if the lowly employees are just being retarded with each other, and that should be punished, obviously. But if the senior executives are just passing around a list of the girls they want to bang, that's pretty unacceptable in my eyes.
That's true. And you think something like that would be a little hidden, like they would use their personal email, but no, they were using company emails to rate the woman in the office. Literally, their coworkers. That's so obviously
the executives were too. They're higher up, looking down. That is really weird. That's really bizarre. And I think obviously they should get punished for that. And yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah.
So Riot Games in middle school. Tony Grimm, I guess in some regards, yeah. That one's actually fucked up though.
So here's the big question now. Okay, so once again, if you read both the sexism claims and what I feel is the more important claims made in the information article about Riot's declining player base due to Battle Royale, PUBG and Fortnite, which, by the way, Tencent has a big stake in both of those games. And apparently Tencent is pushing those now. They've kind of put Riot and League in the back burner. It's not their focus anymore because they see these two as upcoming genres.
Also, you have to realize the numbers, and I think they did get a statement from Riot Games. Did you see a statement that they sent about the declining player base and the all hands on deck meeting?
Yes, I saw it at the bottom of
the statement. Basically just said, basically, yes, we're off our all-time peak numbers, but that's only because we're comparing ourselves to our peak, And basically what this tells me is they were basically hitting all-time peaks until just recently. They were basically making new all-time highs in terms of peak and current users, every year until just 2018. So 2018 is the year where they're not breaking new records. They're slightly off their current record. And they're still doing incredibly well by any measure. So it seems more, and obviously Fortnite became incredibly popular, PUBG became popular, and those are definitely drawing some users away, and that's reasonable. And I think League's problems have nothing to do with their numbers, their concurrent player base numbers, or their monetization. They make a lot of money. Their problem is purely on the cost side. They blow a lot of money on a lot of nonsense, and they get nothing done. You got to cut half those employees
because they're busy farting each other's faces. They can't get anything done.
Maybe they're wasting a lot of time not getting anything done. Okay, there's a lot of inexcusable things in League of Legends.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've dallied on this topic for a long time. It is interesting. If you guys, I want to hear what you guys think is going to happen to Riot now. Like Omar said, they've already peaked, and once you peak, once you stop growing, there's only one way, and that's down. Do you think they can release another game? They do want to be games. They're focusing on that a lot. They have several projects in the pipeline. Do you think they'll succeed, or will they just flounder and shrivel up eventually? Let us know.
I just hate the narrative that this Kotaku article was about, and I think along with the Guild Wars Storm we talked about before, there's this these hit pieces on these gaming companies about misogynistic behavior and whatnot, and it's so far from the truth. I don't get why they're spinning these narratives. What is their goal?
I think they're just
to stir the pot, stir some shit. They seem so baseless after reading these. And look, I'm reading these articles, and there are some points of merit, and people should be disciplined for being complete assholes at the office. But nothing in that article, explained the toxic environment for women. Okay, it had nothing to do with that.
I think it's a toxic environment for anyone whose mind is not 12 years old. Men and women.
Well, we all know if you play League of Legends, your mind is 12 years old. Okay, so everyone's calling each other retards in chat in League of Legends anyway. So you got to fit your player base, So it all makes sense.
Yep. Well, that's that.
Let's take it to another slightly sexist
Oh,
topic. We have
okay.
another bit of drama this week with Ninja. Have you read that
Yes,
one?
I
There's a good Polygon article on it.
I'll bring it up. Yeah, it's a pretty good article. Let me see what I
Kind
got.
of goes back to what we're talking about, but this one is basically Ninja, the very popular Fortnite streamer, which I'm sure all of you have heard of by now. He says he does not stream with female gamers. The only way to avoid rumors is to not play with them at all. Okay, and basically what he says is he doesn't play with female gamers, period, because he doesn't want to create drama. He doesn't want to create gossip. He doesn't want, any problems. He's very happily married, apparently, and he came to the conclusion that, not because of his wife or anything, he just doesn't want to play with female gamers because people are going to start creating drama. People create rumors. Are you guys dating? And all this other nonsense. So he figures the best way to avoid that problem is to not play with any female gamers, and that's the way he handles it, right?
Oh,
And this led to a crazy outcry.
well, for me, the most outrageous and amazing part of the story was that this man is not swinging for the home team. This guy's got a wife. I thought this guy was sucking the D. Like, look at this guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, look at him. He looks like a total, with the pink hair and everything. The way, So I thought he was gay, which is fine. But apparently he's married, and I respect his decision. I don't know why people are complaining. And you know what the worst part is? The women who feel like they're owed a chance to stream with him. They're like, you're cutting us off from this, like, the chance for him to boost our channels, while guys get that opportunity. This guy doesn't owe you,
Platform.
a platform. Yeah.
nothing.
What kind of mindset is that? Like, it's so weird to think you're owed a chance at his platform. Like, it's his. Like, he can play with
But
whoever he
guys
wants.
get it.
Yeah, it's not, guys don't get it. His friends get it. People who he wants to play with get it. It's not like you have no stake to his streaming channel. Like, it's absurd. That part is absurd.
Okay, here's the real thing, by the way. Look, Ninja, I know you don't want to say it, so I'll say it for you, all right? Ninja just doesn't want to play with no e-girls, all right? All right? It has nothing to do with, drama with his wife. I'm sure he's cool with his wife, right? He doesn't want to play with e-girls, period. You know why? Because they suck at Fortnite, all right? That's the real reason. He can't say it, though, because he's a big-time streamer. He's got sponsors. He can't say girls suck at video games, right? He's just saying this is a diplomatic approach to not wanting to play with e-girls. All right? I decoded the message for you guys, all right?
Are there any good female Fortnite players? I don't really follow the Fortnite.
I don't follow the Fortnite scene. Though again, there are a few good League players that stream in High Diamond, and I'm sure that there's probably been a Challenger stream. There's definitely at least one or two Challenger players as well that are girls.
So here's the question then: would he stream with a celebrity girl? Because someone mentioned that he streamed with Drake, and Drake was bad. So would he stream with like Hillary Clinton? Let's say for whatever Hillary Clinton.
You went from Drake as your example for a male celebrity to Hillary Clinton as your female example. You couldn't think of any like pop star. You couldn't think of anyone else. You had to go to okay, interesting.
She's like she wants to run for president again. In a couple of years. It's like how do I get down with the kids? Oh,
how do I get that millennial vote?
The millennials.
We play them Fortnites
with this pink-haired gay boy who's actually get married somehow.
I'm more surprised that you think this guy was gay. I didn't get gay vibes from him.
You did not get gay vibes from a guy with pink hair. Your gaydar busted.
Usually the voice kind of tells you sometimes, but like I didn't really hear a gay voice from him.
So okay, what about this? So let's say he plays with Hillary.
Yeah.
Now is he a hypocrite?
Yes.
Okay.
You 100% be a hypocrite, but again, I think the problem is he's not against playing with like famous people to support his stream and give himself exposure, right? He doesn't want to play with no e-girls, all right?
All right, how about this?
You don't play with no e-thoughts.
Ninja, let's compromise. Let's compromise, all right? You can only play with girls that are 6s or lower, okay? That way your wife will be safe, okay? So you only play with... So you do a straw poll in your chat when you want to play with your picture, profile picture of the girl you're playing with. And if she's rated a 7 or higher, you can't play with her.
Yeah, I just don't understand the outcry. People seem to be pretty upset at this because he's not streaming with other girls. Like you can think like it's kind of weird, but like why get upset over it? It seems like such a ridiculous thing to get mad about.
I agree. It's his own choice.
Where's the controversy? Yeah, I don't get it.
It's like it's like something I want to play with Logitech mice instead of Razer. It's like that's his choice. Who cares? Move on. Like this is not the other one. The Riot thing was kind of interesting, right? This I think is not a story, and if you're complaining about this, you're just really retarded.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like if it could be a real concern too. Whatever. He doesn't want to create drama with his wife. And playing with younger girls on stream regularly could create some friction there when you're on the PC all day. There seems like a real thing there. I mean, it might be a little insecure too, but whatever. It Seems like he's got a valid reason, and let him have at it.
Indeed. I wish him luck. I hope he
Good luck.
doesn't become the next Dr. Disrespect. Bang,
Wait,
woman.
what's wrong?
What?
What's wrong? Well, that's true. That's true. That happened. There you go. He's so what happened.
Exactly.
He's so what happened to Doctor Disrespect, right?
Yeah.
He wants to avoid that.
Yep, makes sense.
All the groupies are going to be all over his. They want to get that victory royale, and get on that Ninja D.
They want to breed superior Fortnite playing babies, so they need that sweet ninja come. All right.
Whoa,
This is.
it's getting weird.
Let's move on.
Fine. We'll get off this topic though. I
got a good Fortnite story for you.
All right, let's hear the good Fortnite story.
Okay, I don't know if you've seen this. Okay, so Fortnite devs working to segregate keyboard and mouse players. So if you're really bad at Fortnite, but you want to look like you're good, here's the play right now before it's too late. Play on your phone, but plug in a keyboard and mouse, as you can see in this picture, and then you will be playing against other phone players by default, and they will be playing with their little shitty touchscreen, and you can just headshot them, pow pow pow.
Oh god, that's great. That's actually amazing. I love the accessory there. You just plug in a mouse and keyboard, and you can play perfectly on mobile. This is like the ultimate way to kick ass. All right, if you're bad at Fortnite, do this. I kind of want to try this. You just destroy people.
This is amazing. I want to do this, and just so I can say like I'm like a top one. Does Fortnite have a ranking system yet?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't
damn.
think PUBG has one either, really. I like the use of the Rubik's Cube in the background to support the phone.
This is a masterful setup. This is an A+ gaming setup.
So this guy's a professional gamer here. He's a hardcore gamer. I can imagine this guy just like sitting at like the cafeteria with this setup for here, fucking wrecking these kids. This proves to me that game addiction exists. Now this guy wants to kick ass, right? It's basically a form of cheating to a degree.
Rate my battle
station.
I love this
I love
picture.
The struggle is real, build.
So what do you think about this though? Do you think Epic should segregate players?
Yeah, they have to. Otherwise, this guy's playing at an unbelievable advantage over anyone else playing on their actual touchscreen. It's night and day. I've tried playing Fortnite on my phone, and it generally functions, but you are playing at a complete disadvantage with mouse and keyboard. The precision controls, the better movement, it's night and day. You have to separate. Otherwise, they will completely destroy it's no different than hacking to a degree in terms of like the outcome. All right, the outcome is the guys with the mouse and keyboard will destroy anyone else. So you have to segregate. You got to ban those appliances. You got to be able to ban them or segregate them somehow. It's a pretty funny story though.
It is indeed. All right.
All right, we got enough drama. We got to talk a little about Battle for Azeroth. Probably the biggest MMORPG launch of the year. I mean, it definitely is. I mean, it's I guess an expansion launch.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? We both downloaded and started playing it a bit yesterday. So what are your thoughts so far?
Well, I took a few. I'm only level 113. The new max level is 120.
Mm-hmm. Filthy casual.
I have a friend who hit 120 last night.
No way.
Yep.
Really?
They were 116 within 5 hours of launch.
Yikes. I feel like I played at least 5 hours. I'm watching all the story. I'm reading the dialogue. I'm immersed.
Yeah. So and then there are multiple people who hit 120 within 6 hours, and then
Wow.
my friend hit 120 before they went to bed last night.
Pretty impressive.
So that is pretty impressive. Besides that, I think the graphics have aged really well. They're doing a good job keeping the zones interesting. I like the fact the view distance is very nice. Like when you're in a high building, you look down, it looks great, even though it's a very old game.
Mm-hmm.
Gameplay is about as what I remember. You don't really die questing anymore.
No, it's impossible. I've been saying this since I played Mr. Pandaria. They've made the leveling experience and the questing experience basically brain dead easy. Now, I made fun of Final Fantasy 14 quite a bit for the ridiculously easy main story content and the regular dungeons and the normal mode raids. And World of Warcraft is basically the same way. You do the quests and you have no chance of dying. Monsters do nothing. You can just pull everything you want and everything is easy peasy. But of course, once you do mythic raids, it's a whole different story.
Yep. Besides that, what I didn't like was the fact that they still have 200 plus servers for the game.
Yeah, it's awful.
They really should do some mergers. I don't know why they're not. They have they have really intense sharding technology where you can be in an outside zone, and then there are multiple versions of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Across your cluster of servers. So they clearly have the technology to do that for the whole North American region. Like, I don't know why they don't do that.
Because server transfers make them millions of dollars every quarter. That's why.
Yeah, I guess so. That has to be it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they make so much money. And I think you can do you can change from horde to alliance, alliance to horde for $25 as well. So all these little microtransactions add up. I mean, I would love to see a breakdown between how much money World of Warcraft makes from subscriptions and microtransactions. I think microtransactions make up more than most people think.
Binisame, we have not done dungeons yet. Hopefully today or tomorrow we'll all meet up and do a dungeon. Omar and I are playing with a few friends, and when we're ready to a dungeon, we will stream it. And we will stream a little bit of gameplay, grinding in the post game. Until then, yeah.
Surprisingly, I mean, again, I've talked to a couple of friends too, and they've all told me that the leveling dungeons in World of Warcraft are actually much easier than the Final Fantasy 14 one. And I've made fun of Final Fantasy 14 for being brain dead. So the leveling experience in at least the dungeons in World of Warcraft should be more brain dead apparently. So what did you think about the Sylvanas being evil and the whole blight thing? I know blight is a big issue with a lot of the lore, with a lot of people on the forums, basically saying that use of blight in any way is like the worst thing they can do, and that like, it's unrealistically evil. And more importantly, in that opening Battle for Lordaeron event, well, cutscene or a little story mission, did you use the blight on the enemies, or did you decide not to?
I used the blight.
Good choice. I did too.
Yeah.
Use all weapons at disposal.
Indeed. I didn't have a. My only issue with the expansion is I don't know if they did this in the previous ones, but the first hour you play, you got to do these two story events, which takes about an hour, I'd say, to do both. Which I guess is cool if you like story, but I don't know. I just felt like it kind of took. I didn't feel like I was playing the game until I got to the new zone. So each Horde Alliance each have their own new zone. About an hour in, I found myself in the capital, the new troll capital area, and that's when I felt like I started playing the game. Before that, I was like watching this slightly interactive cutscene, right? It's like it's like you're in Stormwind, right? You're breaking in. It's like move forward 5 steps. Okay, a little scene plays out. Move forward 5 more steps. Okay, another scene plays out. I mean, it's cool, kind of, but like it's not challenging. I can't die, so it kind of loses some oomph.
Yeah, I'm with you, but it was kind of cool to get the story presented in like such a cinematic and interesting, cinematic way. You know, it's I don't know. I think it set the stage pretty well for the overarching story for Battle for Azeroth. I thought that was kind of cool, but it did kind of a big delay between you can actually play the game.
Yeah, and they did the same thing this time as they did the last expansion, where there's like 3 zones, and you can do them in any order. So they scale up with you level wise. So the levels don't actually mean anything. You just do all the quests in all the zones. Bada bing, bada boom.
So Binsami said, usually the dungeons took at least a little effort at the beginning of the expansion when they are new, but it seems like Battle for Azeroth's expansion, you can literally ignore every single mechanic and not wipe, which is actually, it does frustrate me a lot. I've been complaining about this for Final Fantasy 14 quite a bit, but why are those mechanics even in the game if you can literally ignore all of them? I mean, you should at least have some effort to put in before, you should be punished for just being a retard. It's that simple, but it's bizarre that so many MMORPGs went with this route where all the leveling experience and all the normal content you have to do anyway is like brain dead. I just wish they had an optional, more challenging mode, or just at least make it more engaging to get at least a list of the mechanics. Because the problem is when you get to end game and you play through the stupid easy leveling, it doesn't equip you for the harder content. It's just really weird. It makes like doing the dungeon, seeing the cutscene of defeating the epic boss. It doesn't feel epic. It doesn't feel like, whoa, that was really cool because I overcame this really hard challenge. No, you just face roll your keyboard and beat it.
Yeah, I'll have to wait till I had not done a WoW dungeon since vanilla, guys. So I have no comparison. I will give you my opinion on it next week for sure. Probably later this week.
I know. Yeah, go ahead.
So far, unless there are some pro players that are power leveling, like I said. But so far, if you're just playing at a casual pace and just doing the quest one by one, I like the pacing of the leveling. It took me all night yesterday, pretty much like 6 hours to get like 3 levels, 3 levels. So I think it's pretty good leveling pacing. If anything, a little bit too fast, if anything. But I felt like I was exploring the zone, little by little, and I was unlocking more of the zone. So I felt that was nice. The quest there's a lot more voice lines in the quest now than before. That's good. Yeah.
I mean, it's a solid experience. I mean, it is so far exactly what I expected. I think I'm really holding out to at least try some raids because it wasn't until I really started raiding Final Fantasy 14 that I really, really started enjoying the game. There's some heroic and mythic raids. I think you can do some I'm sure there's some 4-man difficult dungeons too. I know Final Fantasy 14 does not have like 4-man difficult content, and actually they just added it recently. But it's one thing that the game's been missing. So I know WoW had that for a long time. So maybe we can try running, you, me, Gumble, and Knack or somebody else can just run a 4-man hard dungeon, which would be pretty fun. But I'm looking forward to trying that, and I think then I'll see if I really like the game or not. But until then, I'm still enjoying the leveling, even though it's stupid easy. I like to. I'll watch a podcast or listen to something on my other monitor while doing the leveling process, so it becomes
Yes.
more tolerable, and it's a nice way to turn your brain off and just go with what's happening on the screen. And for some reason, it's still fun. It's still fun even though it's easy. But I just wish it was a little more challenging.
Yep. Let's see. Besides that, we got the release of Monster Hunter World a few days ago, and it is way more popular on Steam than I thought it would be. I thought that everyone who really wanted to play wouldn't have waited this long. They would just play it on the PlayStation, but I was wrong. It was pretty popular. I'll show you the Steam charts. We haven't played it, but I see a lot of friends on Steam who are on this game.
Yeah, though I'm pretty sure it's like they're in maintenance now or something.
Oh yeah, it's down right now. Rip.
No, they still have 164,000 players online. So they peaked at 315,000 in 24 hours. All-time peak of 330,000. The game is off to a pretty incredible start. The biggest problem, of course, as anyone guessed, is going to be server connectivity issues. First of all, Capcom or a lot of Japanese game developers aren't very good at making PC games, and they don't really are familiar with the infrastructure at least. So PC launch issues should not be surprising. So they're mainly console gamers over in
I
Japan,
don't think. Look, they waited this long, presumably to optimize the PC version,
Yeah.
and they failed. They had their time, and if you look on Steam right now, if you look at the reviews, 46% are positive, which means 54% of reviews right now are negative, and the primary concern there is multiplayer.
PCs.
Multiplayer doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get disconnected all the time. That's the biggest problem. Network errors is going to be, and that's why they're leaving negative reviews. I think people are still having a lot of fun. The guys leaving negative reviews have played 55 hours in like the first 2 days. Like first 3 days of launch, people have 50 hours in the game or more, and they're leaving negative reviews. Come on, dude. There's launch issues. I get it, but I don't think that's
This is
fair
not
criticism.
this is not an MMORPG. You're not allowed to have launch issues in this kind of game. Okay, you're just not allowed. So
You're not allowed. I'll tell you, won't allow it.
My Burn Toast linked a good article. Apparently, China is removing
Yeah, I read
Monster
this
Hunter World, and Tencent's offering refunds. So that's a problem. I wonder if Steam will follow suit.
It has nothing to do with connectivity issues. Why that's happening? Because the Chinese Communist Party had a problem with like the way the corpses looked in the game, and we all know how China is about censorship of those corpses. So that was the problem with the game.
Get wrecked. Can't see the corpses.
Can't see the corpse. That's why a lot of the corpse, like instead of zombies as skeletons, like zombies are like I guess not okay in Chinese lore, Chinese culture. But that seems the biggest problem with the game, which is it's such a big launch too. I think they had over 1 million pre-orders, and $44 each is over $44 million they're gonna be refunding, and that's a big setback for the game in China. But the game is already booming in Japan and the US already. I mean, it's sold so many copies. It's Capcom's best-selling game ever.
Wow.
So it's off to a strong start. I've been tempted to play it, but my hands are kind of occupied with World of Warcraft now and Final Fantasy 14 and some other games right now. It's on my wish list, but I'm not. I don't have time to play it right now.
Well, let's get it for PS4 when it's $20. So
I'd rather get it on PC. I'm not. No, the PC ones would be better.
It's not gonna be better. They don't know how to, we just said they don't know how to make PC games.
Better. It runs smoothly. Yeah. But the connectivity issues are the problem right now. They'll be fixed in a few months. In 1 month, all those problems will be fixed.
All right, we'll wait till they fix it.
Everyone, I know people that played both the PC and console version, and the PC one's way better. The biggest problem is the network problems and the disconnections. And again, those are going to be fixed eventually. It's no big deal.
Yeah, so I think that's a good idea. By the time we burn out on WoW, we can try this one for $20.
Yeah, that'll be the plan.
Unskippable cutscenes, always a mark of good gameplay design.
All right, speaking of going back to a hardcore experience, all right, MapleStory announced their lab server, which is finally live. Anyone can play it right now. It's pretty badass. So if you've never heard of it, it's actually really cool. So they have a custom server in MapleStory called their lab server now. It just it launched, I think, just this last week, and it's basically a pretty hardcore server with permadeath. It makes it so if you die on that server, you reset back to level 1. It's a permadeath server.
Wow.
And not only that, so your normal MapleStory experience. Not only is it permadeath, it's actually even more hardcore than that. Monsters have like twice the HP as a regular server and 5 times the stats.
5 times.
5 times the stats. And on top of that, potions have a 10-second cooldown. So you can't just spam the shit out of your potions.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
The potion thing makes it so you can't grind monsters that are too hard. So it's meant to be a very difficult game. It's meant to be more challenging, which is pretty badass because it's very easy to die in MapleStory. I mean, if you ever lapse of judgment, you just don't pay attention for a second, or you go to too high area, you could die very easily. So it's a very cool experience. The server, it's only gonna be running till August 28th, and I think depending on how high level you get or how much you play, you do get rewards you can carry over with you on your primary server. But it's a really cool. I think this lab server is a really cool way for Nexon to experiment with like different rule sets for a server. If they find something that works, they could create maybe like a pre-Big Bang server, a classic MapleStory server. And if it does well in the lab server, they'll launch an official version of it. They might launch like they might launch like a whole bunch of servers with different rule sets, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see that Nexon is still experimenting with one of their bread and butter games. This and DFO are basically Nexon's primary games, and they're both very old, and they're both still seeing active development.
MapleStory 1 is still doing really well. I think both DFO and MapleStory 1 are doing remarkable despite their age. I think MapleStory actually, I think I read the next time released their earnings report this last week as well. I put an article on that too. They talk about how MapleStory is still doing really well after all these years. Their revenue is actually still going up for MapleStory, so that game is still killing it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Any word on MS2, or are we still just waiting?
We're still waiting on MapleStory 2. I think it's going to be launching. My guess is like October is my guess for beta. So on the Nexon front, interestingly enough, we did get kind of a tease for Moonlight Blade. Do you remember that one? The Chinese MMORPG?
Vaguely.
Yeah, they I think for the first time they listed it on their pipeline for North America and the rest of the world release. So Moonlight Blade is now on the North America release pipeline on their earnings report. So that doesn't mean anything just yet. All we know is it's more likely to happen now. No exact release date either, or any real release schedule, but it's on there. It's on their to-do list now on their pipeline. So that might actually happen. PC is still a big moneymaker for Nexon. I think 77% of their revenues come from PC and only 23% from mobile right now. So they're still very much a PC game developer because of basically almost entirely because of Dungeon Fighter Online and MapleStory.
Yep.
We have one more big announcement this week. Maybe we can go back to complaining about sexism. But Black Desert Online Remastered was revealed. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, I thought you should put that on. It looks pretty gorgeous.
All right, one sec. Let me.
I gave you the link. It'll be launching on August 22nd. So this game already looks beautiful, and they're going to do a big graphical overhaul for it, along with the remastered audio as well. So both visuals and audio are getting improved on August 22nd. They actually announced a few other goodies too. I thought it would be just the new graphics, but they announced the new class, the Male Ranger, as well as an entirely new territory, changes the marketplace system, and a ton of other goodies. Basically, just a ton of other content updates coming real soon too. But all we know on August 22nd, the new graphics and new audio will be released. The other stuff for the new class and new territory won't be coming until later. But it's cool to tease that too. Some more stuff to look forward to.
And now we know it's all free, right? It's a patch, not like it's something.
It should be free.
That's good.
Yeah, if they charge money for that, they kind of lame. But it looks beautiful. I mean, I'm gonna launch the game again just after the remastered version just to see how gorgeous it looks. The character models look incredible though. Like if you go to like 122, and well, you'll get there eventually too. But it did look so good. They look beautiful. Like it looks unbelievable. Obviously, you can't see those details when you're like killing things, but like when you zoom into your character, the intricacies on your character's clothes, woo, A+.
Damn, yeah, you're right.
Those are some quality waifus.
You know what I didn't like about BDL? The combat animations. There's too much light, especially the default like auto attacks and stuff. They're a little more subtle. Like there's too much going on when you're just spamming all your attacks.
Because when you land your attacks too, like little like slash lines appear on the screen, and you can't really see anything. Yep. Some of the moves seem a little over exaggerated as well.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll give that a shot when it comes out.
I'm definitely launching it just for the graphics. I'm not sure. I'm probably not gonna go back to it, but I do want to just see the graphics in action because how beautiful this game looked.
True that.
But yeah, that's the next big thing on the radar over here. We also got a new game announcement too. I'm not really too excited for it because I never played the original Torchlight, but Perfect World is now making Torchlight Frontiers, and Torchlight did really well. The original Torchlight 1 and 2 games did really well, but they really weren't MMOs. They were basically just like single player experience. I think Torchlight 2 had some like duo multiplayer experience, but Torchlight Frontiers will be more MMO-esque. So they're not calling it MMO, Altai. Do you know what they're calling it?
They're calling it a shared world. I hate that term.
Yes, there's that word, boys. That's like the fake MMO word.
Yep, you hear that one a lot these days.
Apparently the game is playable too, so they're showing off at Gamescom and PAX West, so we might get more gameplay trailers soon. But I mean, I guess it's hopefully pretty close to release if they're letting people try it out.
It's odd how much your preference for like graphic style can matter. Because a lot of people I know don't like the visual style in Path of Exile, right? They just don't like that look. That like dark Western fantasy look. For me, it's the opposite. I love that look, and I was never a fan of the Torchlight aesthetic. It seems a little odd for an action RPG to me.
in the video, the character models, like their faces look really weird. This is probably a cutscene though, so it's not really representative of the game. But like that king looking guy, it looks very jarring and weird. His art style. Like if you're gonna go with the cartoony art style, I have pretty high standards. I like the Fortnite look, I like the Overwatch look, and I love the WoW look. But the Torchlight 2 looked good. But this cutscene announcement trailer looks really, really bad in my eyes. I don't know. I don't like it. It looks very cheap.
I don't like it. I don't know if it's cheap or not.
This trailer looks awful.
It's like a pretty useless reveal trailer. We'll have to wait till we see some gameplay after those conventions, and then we'll see if it's any good.
And this is some weird CGI trailer. So I don't know who they hired to make this, but it's disgusting. It's really bad for like. This is acceptable for like a Kickstarter game, maybe, but like that's really it. Like if a high budget, a decent looking Kickstarter game had this, yeah, that's pretty cool, But in a perfect world and Torchlight, Torchlight's a big franchise. They sold millions of copies. This is not acceptable. This is a no mas.
We'll see what the gameplay's like. I don't want to judge it by some useless reveal. A lot of companies, their reveal trailer is even worse. It's like 30 seconds and it's like concept art with like some dialogue, like in a world by storm, blah blah blah. Like coming soon. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if you could do a cinematic trailer, it's got to be really badass, or just show us gameplay. Like literally, I guarantee if they just showed us like the most mundane gameplay with some music in the background, it would be better than this. Like nobody wants this subpar garbage cutscene video. If you want to, if you go all out with a cutscene and you put like Blizzard-like cutscenes, that's fine. That's acceptable. I'd rather see gameplay, but like that's still gonna get me hyped. If you give this subpar garbage like cinematic video, forget it. I'd rather just not get that at all. This is like anti-hype.
Rage Gamer, you bring up a good point. I think I agree with you. I think back in the day of like really early 2D or 3D gaming, cinematics were kind of cool to convey story. But today, with how good gameplay can look, there's really no reason not to have in-client cutscenes. Like if you're gonna have a cutscene for story, it's got to be captured in game with the UI turned off. It can't be this bullshit like cinematic that has nothing to do with the game. You're right. That's a total waste of time and money today. It definitely made sense back in like the PlayStation 1 days, but not today. Not today is totally pointless. I agree with you. Even the good ones like by Riot or Blizzard, I no longer see a point. It should be in client. Have the units, if they're fighting each other for some big battle, do it in client with the units, and then that'll be cool.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah,
that's fair. But yeah, hopefully we'll see some actual gameplay soon. But yeah, that's that. Anything else, Altai?
Yeah, I had a fun story. Little industry news here. Discord is trying to compete with Steam. What do you think of that? They have launched their.
They have a chance.
They have a chance?
Good chance.
Okay.
They have a chance. Ready? What was the other one? Like GOG and stuff had no chance because Steam had the entire market for community features completely cornered. Right? Why would anybody use GOG or any of those other launchers when Steam combines both the store and the social elements of invite all your friends are already on Steam. You can easily invite them to your games, right? So there was no reason to use GOG or anything else. But Discord, on the other hand, has the social stuff completely dominated. Nobody uses like Twitch, Steam, like streaming, or even like Twitch messaging is probably going on the way down. I don't message anybody on Steam anymore, and why would I? I message them on Discord.
Yeah.
So I think it's much easier. I think for Discord to go after Steam's market than it is for Steam to go for the community market. I think Steam lost the community market. They had a chance to beat the Discord, but I guess they never took the community features very seriously. So I think there's a good chance that Discord can encroach on their territory. I would prefer to if I can install my games on Discord, I would.
Yeah, and I like that. So here's what they said so far. Obviously, they're small, so maybe they have to say this just because they have a small library. But they want to differentiate themselves from Steam by having a smaller but curated library. And this is something, Omar, you and I talked about and disagreed about in the past, where I think the mobile gaming ports, the shitty, asset flips, the 10-year-old crappy Korean MMOs relaunching on Steam, all of that takes a toll on the quality of the average game. Your chance of landing on an average good game is going down on Steam. So what Discord is trying to do is have a curated offering of games, and each game is going to have a personalized note about the game from a staff member at Discord.
Wow. So that's pointless. I think that curation is unnecessary.
They're trying to emulate this feel of like those independent bookstores where there'll be little reviews under the books by the staff at the bookstore. So I don't know if this is just temporary until they actually get bigger and then they can say, screw our little kitschy joke. We're just going to have everything. But I really think there's a marketplace out there for a curated platform where that every game on that platform is at least good. Whereas Steam is just littered with these mobile gaming ports and all this garbage.
Yeah, I think if Discord wants to take on Steam, what they gotta do is they gotta get a big game and get it on exclusively on Discord. Imagine before Monster Hunter World launch, right? Imagine Discord became the exclusive PC. You can only get the PC version of Monster Hunter World through Discord. Now, obviously, the Steam store is bigger. I think the numbers are 9 million users, 9 million daily active users on Discord right now, and like 30 million on Steam. But if you can pay Capcom, so you charge them no fees, and you give them like $20 million up front if they just use you exclusively. That would kickstart Discord's platform or their store. I think incredibly. I mean, they can't do it with Monster Hunter World now, but they wait for a next big game to launch. They can get their foot in the door and just and if it works, people will like it a lot. That'd be the best way, I think, for them to expand.
Well, they are doing that, but not with big games like Monster Hunter. They have a system
really
called
obscure game.
First on Discord Initiative. They're gonna pay indie games a lump sum of cash to get 90-day exclusive launch on Discord, and after the 90 days, they're free to launch anywhere else they want.
True.
So we'll see if that can yield any good results. But there are a lot of good indie games out there that really blew up, and if Discord can find one, they can really take they can blow up the platform with them.
Yeah, that's the plan, I think, and I think they have a pretty reasonable threat to Steam. I think this is the most credible threat to Steam since basically forever. Windows Store had no chance because they were a store with no community features. Discord's got all the community stuff locked down. I'll tell you, do you use Steam messaging that often anymore?
No.
Like, almost never. Like, why would I message someone on Steam? I message them on Discord.
And the funny thing about that
I
is
don't use Skype either. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Steam actually tried to upgrade their chat recently to kind of compete with Discord, but I think it kind of was too little, too late.
Yeah. It's they could compete with it. I believe in them. I think they can do it.
You believe in it? All right. We'll see how they do.
All right. I think that's it. Unless you got anything else. The drama was the most exciting bit, and I'm still a little peeved about that article. It seems pretty unfair.
I guess.
It's a hit base, boys. It's a hit base.
Boo hoo.
All right. You want to go to the post game and play some WoW?
All right, that sounds good. We can just play some WoW. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And
thanks for watching on YouTube, guys. And we're going to continue into the post game for a bit later for YouTube.
Take it easy.